I was gonna come up here and really say about this show is like I'm not mad, but I'm just disappointed. But after finishing it, it's still sort of there a little bit, but we'll get into it. Actually, no, let's get into it a little bit right now. Really what it comes from is just the MC itself, right? The MC is literally irritating to the nth degree for those first 5 episodes. Like, it's not even funny, and it's still there for those last 5 episodes, but at least it starts to get better by the end of things. But before we get into any of the problems, let me at least get into the story.
Oh yeah, like, comment, subscribe, it helps.
Well, the story first started off with a character by the name of Arjun, right? And he joins or gets transferred to another school, and this school is honestly the worst school I've ever seen in my life. They have graffiti everywhere, all the desks are messed up, the kids are wearing piercings and all this other stuff, and the teacher's just like, alright, whatever, I'm trying to teach you. Obviously no one gives a fuck. But right after Arjun introduces himself to the class, he sees this beautiful girl named Mahara, right? And he sort of spark up a conversation, and he basically gets a chance to meet her on top of the roof after class. And when he's proceeding to go do so, he actually gets reintroduced to one of his best friends when he was a small kid, Marakata, and his 2 strong but close friends that he has with him, Zabu and Kamora. And Marakata realistically is like talking him up. He's like, oh my goodness, it's so good to see you, oh, you're so strong, you're like my best friend, I'm so glad that you're here to see you. Arjun doesn't want to see him at all. He doesn't want to be around him or do anything with him. Arjun basically misses his chance to meet up with Maharo, but he meets up with her the next day, and they basically said that she wants to meet up with him again in a park. So we fast forward again, and we sort of get to a scene where now Arjun's with Zabu and Kamora, but they basically are setting up Arjun because of Marakata, because Marakata said, oh, he's so big and strong and he's a really good friend to me, so they just wanted to test out his strength basically. And when they test out his strength and they set up a situation where he goes to a fight, he basically gets all his clothes taken away. He runs away, right? He runs away to a specific shrine, and he then tries to pull out a gun on the people that's chasing him, and as soon as he shoots a gun, it basically misfires, it ricochets and shoots him in the head. Everyone thinks he's dead, and they just basically walk away, and come to find out he's alive with the bullet sort of stuck in his head, and something comes out of it, which is basically a genie. We skip to the next day where we have the date with Arjun and Mahara, right? And they're basically just in a park, and he's basically about to confess his love, and someone with green hair by the name of Marito comes out of nowhere, and he says like, yo, what are you doing over here? What are you doing in this park? And Arjun basically grabs Maharo's hand, and they're about to walk away. He's like, what are you doing with your hand on my sister? To say lightly, Marito just starts beating the absolute shit at Arjun, right? While Arjun's on the floor getting destroyed, he has this determination in him where he's like, where he doesn't want to give up. And the genie asks him a question, is like, just say what's in your heart's desire. And he says, I want to lose my virginity.
Weird thing to say as a man is beating you from the inch of your life, but you know what? To each their own.
He's like, the genie's like, whatever. He goes inside of the boy's body, and he basically helps him, give him strength so he can actually win the fight. And I'll stop off there when it comes to the story. Alright, basically I'm going to get into what I was saying earlier, as well as the pros and cons for the show. There will be spoilers here and there, so you have been warned from this point onward. Alright, let's just rip the band-aid off. Let's just go back to what I was saying earlier with the MC. The MC is very intolerable and very annoying for the first 5 episodes for like a few reasons, right? One of the main reasons why he's so annoying per se, right, is the little itty bitty thing in his head that's a noodle. Oh yeah, his fucking brain that doesn't necessarily activate almost at all unless it's for fucking Maruto to get into her panties or the case is, right? Just the sheering amount of fucked up shit he necessarily has done for those 5 episodes is actually insanity. One, he refuses to stop a gang war of a gang that necessarily he joined, and the only reason why he joined is because of Mahou, right? But Arjun has the best idea in his mind that, hey, you know what, if they both try to attempt to kill each other and the head boss, which is the brother Marito, dies, then I have the girl all to myself, and if he wins, then I still have the girl all to myself.
Are you delusional? Do you suffer from a mental illness? Do you think you do?
Yes! And that's bad, but oh yeah, we're gonna keep it going. We flash forward, right, to the actual gang war where it's about to happen. Before it necessarily happens, Arjun actually fights the main villain guy that's behind all this nonsense, right? But they spark up a conversation, and then they come to agree and say, you know what, you come join my side now, and guess what, you get all the women if you join. He takes the deal.
Is your brain located in your ass, buddy?
And that's not all. We gotta get a little worse than that.
But wait, there's more.
It gets better, but only for a second. Arjun realizes, hey, that this big villain guy is one. Obviously, he already knows that he's behind everything, but he realizes he's actually going to make an attempt to murder all of these gangs at the same time. So he's like, you know what? Let me double cross this guy. Double crosses him, and then we sort of get into the final fight, or whatever the case may be. But the thing is, Arjun is not going to help a soul because Maharu rejected him, right? So after this rejection, he's like sort of down in the dumps. every single character that you've seen throughout this show for the last 4 episodes is basically fighting the main villain, and everyone's getting basically stomped the fuck out because no one can actually handle how much power this guy has. And it looks like everyone's basically gonna die. The only reason why Arjun then steps up and starts to become strong and actually try to attempt to fight the main villain is because Maharu is basically getting beat the fuck up by the main villain himself. He keeps like slapping her around this shit like that, and by the last hit where he's about to actually probably hurt her, like really hurt her or maybe even kill her, he's like, no, stop, and they actually just stops him and finally actually does something. And by the end of the fight, necessarily it feels hollow by the time we get to the end. He actually beats him. But you know what, play the scary movie clip one more time.
But wait, there's more.
Getting back together with the characters of Arjun and Marakata, right? Now, Marakata is a person that was always backed up Arjun. He says, oh, he's the best. I love him so much. And Marakata's eyes, Arjun can necessarily do no wrong because he just thinks in his mind that, oh, he's so strong. He's such a good person. But realistically, Arjun doesn't want anything to do with him and does it in an extremely mean way to Marakata, even though necessarily he always has that sort of feeling, or you can see in his eyes or the way he acts, the feeling of like he sort of wants to be his friend in a tsundere type of fucking way. And this happens a lot with the relationship in this show, right? But the one that makes it go over the bridge and like sort of almost like a point of no return when it doesn't necessarily happen is with Marakata, and we sort of get to where the show sort of gets really good, but I'll get into that a little later. The whole point basically is that when Marakata in this last 5 episodes has his brother, and it sort of hypes up a little bit of his brother, oh, he's gonna return, or we're gonna see him, we're gonna have a good time, he actually dies, or he's about to die, or the cases, because he tried to stop a fight. So he's down in the dumps. He's basically super depressed, super in a vulnerable, bad state, and Arjun just really doesn't give a shit. He like doesn't acknowledge him. He's like, oh, he'll be alright, and he just cares about Maharu, and that was really disgusting to me. I'm like, dude, what in the actual fuck? Like, what happened to Shane? We need to bring back Shane back. Bring that shit back. He could at least comfort the guy, have a conversation with the man, make sure he's okay. None of that. All he gets is a leave me alone, your ideology is stupid, and he leaves.
What is that? Oh shit, what is that? Who you fight?
And it's not like I don't understand the ideology or understand what is going on in front of me, right? And so the character arc that's sort of building up of you're not really supposed to like Arjun. He's supposed to basically be despicable, and necessarily he grows into a person that is actually a hero, is actually a warrior, or actually a good person by the time we get to the end. It's just that I don't like necessarily how the arc gets portrayed. I feel like it's way too much at a certain degree and point for this character and Marakata. Also, the shoehorn in that I understand that he necessarily feels bad for what he did for leaving his friend, but all of this is just way too goddamn much. And if you are gonna redeem him by the time we get to the end, I hope like it was like a roadmap of how you're supposed to like really get to it and have like certain acts or certain actions be done, but it doesn't necessarily feel like that, and it almost borderline feels rushed a little bit by the time we get to the end. Then there's the annoying thing with the love interest, because she loves her brother, and I mean loves, I actually mean loves her brother. She wants to I'm assuming marry, have sex, or fucking have a relationship with her brother, and that shit is like, it's just weird. Like, it's too much. It's like Japan being Japan. Like, what the actual fuck? Please stop this.
Stop it. Get some help.
But you know what? Enough. I have spoken. Let me get into the good parts of the show, right? I really enjoy it. Obviously, you know, it's Mappas, so you're gonna have the good animation. You're gonna have the really good fights that are out there and make it sort of look pretty. Then you have the choreography that was already pretty nice. And besides, you know, the 3 characters I did mention, I actually like everyone else. I really love all the side characters. I think they're all cool and unique in their own way. Whether it be the design choice, some of the backstories that some of these people have, their interactions that they have with each other when there's different fractions interacting with each other, it's actually genuinely pretty good, and I have an enjoyment for that. And I have a lot of enjoyment when it comes to the last 5 episodes where you see the Marakata evil arc. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was actually done decent or good, but even though it could have been better, but I still enjoyed what it was, necessarily of him being in a completely dark space, and he's very vulnerable at this point. So then when he has like the spirit come over and try to like take him over and really put him in his place and have him be like a handler to like a dog being a shot caller type situation, it makes sense, and it's pretty cool seeing him just burn all these bridges and really turn into his own person for a second. And if it was like probably like what, like 23 episodes, a lot of these ideas can get stretched out, and some of the ideas that like in this 5 episodes that I thought could have been better is, one, just that origin redemption arc of like him being a better person. That's one. to the origins of the two bucchigiri spirits, right? The only reason why I say this is because, one, I like the origin and purpose for both the genies, right? I just wish that it was extended a bit longer. Maybe if there's a few more episodes we can get a lot more of that per se. But there's two major issues. One, I still didn't necessarily understand how they became genies or bucchigiri people at this point in time when they sort of got gunned down at the last second. And two, this blue bastard right here, he's actually the worst. Might even potentially be worse than Origin, but that's debatable. He has no reason to necessarily be evil. There was no actual reason for him to like go off the deep end and become super fucking evil guy of the world when it came to Marakata and sort of him just manipulating him and doing the shot caller tactic, talking bad about his brother, having darkness, just putting him in the depths of hell basically so he can get to the point where he can take over his body, right? There was no reason for him to be like that. Nothing we saw in the origin that was like, oh, I'm an evil ass motherfucker, like that didn't exist. So like, why did you do that? Like, why are you just an asshole for no reason? Lastly, I'll just talk about the gags, right? It was two gags. One I thought was just completely useless because it was just served no purpose. It was just there to be there. The other one was actually pretty funny, so I won't necessarily spoil it. But the first one, which is just useless, is the one where like they have these two kids and they're just eating all the time. I'm like okay, like what do you want me to do with that? And the second one is with Jasmine and the teacher, right? Now I'm not gonna spoil what Miss Jasmine and the teacher were doing per se in a club, but it was hilarious, and I'll let your minds go about that. But oh my goodness, this show generally has me conflicted because it has moments where like I see the potential. I see so much potential in this show and how much better necessarily it can probably get. Even, you know, probably if it gets to season 2, it could get even better than what the hell I was watching. But like necessarily, like I said before, the last 5 episodes sort of really pick it back up and sort of like give it a bit of life, even though it does have necessarily issues in it per se. But I guess for Mappa's first anime, it's just decent. That's all I'll just end off. Like, it's decent, and it's up to you if you want to necessarily give this show a chance. But that was basically all I had to say about this show. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you guys thought about the show in the comments and sort of what your ideas was about this show necessarily. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.